All right, so we're gonna try this again.
What's up, everybody?
It's Thursday.
Brother Empowerment Day, which should be one of your favorite days.
Because it's one of our favorite days.
That's correct.
Okay, it seemed like we got certain things working.
We cooking with gas now, so
We're just gonna check the sound real
Brother
quick.
Empowerment Day, which should be one of your favorite days.
Yep. So sound is working. It seemed like everything is going pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So brother, how was your week?
My week has been pretty hectic, actually. A lot of stuff going on. But, we're at the end. And I'm hoping that, all the trials and tribulations of this week stay in this week and don't bleed over into next week. So, long story short, man, or short answer is just really stressful and kind of trying on my patience and, my resolve. But it's all good, You need something like that every once in a while to kind of get you out of your comfort zone.
Okay. Well, look, okay. Well,
How about yourself, man?
Yeah, things are going pretty good for me. One of the things that I really had to focus on is making sure you never lose track of your passion, your love, the things that get you excited.
Right.
And so I had an opportunity to do some graphic work this week from some new friends, some old friends, but it felt good to kind of just do some of the things that I just like doing.
Right.
Because I must admit that I did miss it.
Yeah, no.
So getting back to the basics did feel good, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
For sure, yeah, definitely.
I'm going to just tag a couple of more people. We weren't supposed to have a guest tonight, but, sometimes things happen, and plus it is raining out there.
Yes.
So it ain't no telling.
Off and on.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. All right. So, of course, we always have to talk about the things that are most popular. And one of the things that are happening right now in our current events is the Tyrese Scandal.
Yes.
So, for those who don't know, why don't you tell them a little bit about it?
So, the Tyrese Scandal, if we can even really call it that. So, there is a picture going around that was shared by, Mr. Gibson himself. I believe that's his last name. Where he is in a field of some sort or some kind of grassy area with his daughter, who I believe is 12 or 13, and he is sprawled out on the floor, both with his legs crossed and both arms out to the side, and she is basically sitting on top of him. And so when he shared said picture, it blew up basically social media and all these people talking about how it's inappropriate, it's disturbing, and this and that, and really just another thing that's trending and setting the social media world on fire again.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on it?
My thoughts are like this, brother, man. I feel like, two things. One, I feel like it is way too many people are still and continue to over-sexualize young black girls and also young black women, but in this case, young black girls. And also, I think that there's way too many people who still are not completely comfortable, nor do they even have an idea of what it looks like for a father to really love on his daughter, whether she be a baby, a toddler, or going into being a young woman. They don't, they just, for some reason, people just, that's a foreign idea to them, and it just, it disturbs them for whatever reason. I don't know why.
There we go. You moving so much.
Oh, sorry.
You was taking the focus off. It was like, where you going? Where you going?
Sorry. But yeah, that's my take on that, bro. I think it's just stupid. Now, Tyrese does a lot of stuff that's questionable or whatever, in my opinion. But that right there was, in my opinion, it's harmless. And that kind of picture is a picture that I would think that I would take with my 12, preteen daughter.
Right.
I thought it was basically harmless.
Well, I do think that we're living in a world where it is hypersexual,
right?
And I do get the point of, I think that proper sex education is needed.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's happening is we're focusing so much on bad touch that we don't know how to identify good touches.
Right.
And that's just not with the Tyrese situation. That's what a lot of things. I think that we have gone into protect mode so much and so often
that
we don't know how to identify with the good things.
Right.
I was talking to Natanya earlier today, and we're so prepared for what we shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even clear on what we should do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we do have, let me see, we do have some comments. Oh, Lenora said hello. Tell Lenora hello.
Hey, Lenora.
And Roderick said hello.
Hey, what's up?
He actually beat Sherry this time, which I'm shocked. We don't know what Sherry is, but he beat her. And I know Jason is on, and he actually teaches about things like this, but I think that we need to start showing people what healthiness looks like outside of the gym, outside of just eating, outside of dietary needs.
Right.
We need to show people what healthy relationships look like,
right,
both from a mother and a father. And I think that they don't know what that looks like. So anytime it is foreign, we now associate anything that is foreign with bad.
Right. Yep.
And as a father of two daughters, I don't see anything wrong with it. The only problem is my kids couldn't lay flat on my stomach. I got a kid.
Yeah.
They gonna roll to the side. So, or I don't breathe. I mean, but if I could do it and I had a flat stomach, I don't see a problem with my kids laying on, you know, my stomach like that as well.
I think that too. If a father, you know, because essentially that's the first man they come in contact with, and if they can't have a healthy relationship, you know, emotional relationship with their father, then where are they going to get it from?
Well, that ain't even emotion. That's an affectionate.
Well, I'm sorry. Yes, you're correct. Right. If they can't have a healthy affectionate relationship with their father, then where are they supposed to get it from? Where are they supposed to learn about that kind of thing?
The street.
Just
the rap artists.
Just all kinds of just weirdness, man. I was, you know, just looking about it, and I just said, man, so what are, you know, it's one of those things where you ask yourself, or maybe other people as well, you ask yourself, so what are black men, so people are so used to how things have been, or some people are so used to how things have been, that it's kind of like they're just, you know, they wanted to change, but then sometimes when they see the change, they don't like it.
And you know what? I don't know if that's necessarily, in this situation, yes, Tyrese is a black male. I don't know if that's particularly a black male, or just people are not used to seeing healthy father relationships, period.
Yeah.
Because I was watching some of the comments on Twitter, and a lot of them, it was fathers on both sides that were kind of like saying, this is stupid.
Yeah.
So I just think that this is just an attack on what positive or what healthy fathers look like as a whole, you know?
Yeah, I got you.
Now, Karen is on. Hey, Karen.
Hey, Karen.
Karen is running for Miss South Carolina Full Figure.
That's correct.
Her pageant is coming up at the end of the month, so if you're in the South Carolina area or you close where you can travel, make sure you support her, because she's actually using Love is a Parable as her platform.
That's big.
And so we definitely consider that an honor, and we appreciate you, Karen, for doing that.
Most definitely.
But she said, I agree, not enough children know what a healthy relationship is.
Yeah.
Look, Sherry finally made it on. Look at the slacker Sherry. She made it. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Shakira. Hey, Dominique.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Now, last week we got into a lot of discussions, and a lot of people are putting in their discussion questions, that things that they wanted us to discuss. So let's jump into the ones that we missed last week, and then we'll try to pick up with the ones this week. Okay?
Okay.
The very first one is the lack of adequate representation of positive news when it comes to black men and black families and relationships.
Oh, man, that's loaded.
What are your thoughts?
So, that definitely, I mean, that's loaded. Simply because, so lack of adequate representation is, you know, I think it was definitely, in mainstream society, it was in media and movies, it was definitely a doctored or planned thing, you know, in a lot of in way too many shows and way too many, you know, movies, stuff like that, the black family structure is broken, or it's really, really, for lack of using an archaic term, it's really, I'm not even gonna say toxic, it's problematic, and there's just a lot of just bad stuff that was portrayed. Now that paradigm has shifted, partly because now showing blackness or black people in a positive light is profitable to the point where it matters now. It actually probably was always profitable, but now so the black dollar is in that sense, is making waves.
Okay.
So, but I think that as far as a lack of representation, I think that it's still a thing, but not as much as it was before. At least in my time looking at and taking that into account. But yeah, it's definitely still lacking, and there's definitely change is happening, but it's slow. Just like a lot of change in general, it's slow.
And the sad part is, I agree with you. Well, no. I think the confusion is we might be confusing the lack of representation with the lack of positive representation. Because we are getting representation.
Right, yeah, we are.
But I can't really say that it's positive if it's used as controversy.
Yeah, I was speaking on from the positive representation standpoint. Yes, you are right there.
I think we're getting more... I was adding to what you're saying. I think we're getting more representation.
Right.
And I think it's left up to the social media powers that be if it's positive or negative.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we need to do too is make positive representations in your own community, in your own network.
Yeah.
There are so many people that you do know that are out there that are doing great things. So if your timeline is inundated with negativity, there's several things that can come to mind. One of them is, who are you connected to?
Right.
If you're connected to a bunch of negative individuals, a bunch of negative representation will be on your timeline.
That's correct.
So it might be a shift. Change your permissions, change your settings, change who you're following. But the other thing is there may be positive people doing great things in your community that need you to expose them to people who may not see or know that those things are actually going on.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of that is relative, but I also feel like we give social media more power than we should at times.
I agree with that.
I think that we need to step up in areas that we feel like there is a lack and stop waiting on or stop expecting others to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I mean, there's always been positive examples out there. They're just, they just have, like you said, they haven't always been exposed or at the forefront. But they've always been out there. We've always had some positive examples.
Kevin said we also need to stop, move out the way. We need to stop sexualizing the idea of the hot dad.
That's an interesting point.
Help me clarify.
I guess just like the hot mom, you have the hot dad who's built, who doesn't look like he's older. He doesn't look like a typical dad. I mean, and I guess that you could say that Tyrese might fit that archetype because of how he looks and how he may, I'm at one time when he was really, really popular, I believe that he was a sex symbol of sorts. So I think that might have a factor into what Kevin is saying too. Correct me if we're wrong, Kev, man.
He's somebody saying it wrong.
Okay. All right, well, just write what you were trying to say again in the comments and we talk about it.
Okay, let me see. Karen said, I think it's because we are so quick to focus on negative instead of positive.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah. I think we talked about that in the Love is a Parable course, that we're quick to document the negative things that have happened in our lives, but we struggle to recall all the positive.
Right.
And I think that we start, just like we journal or just like we bring some memory, like somebody said, well, bad things are traumatic. Yes, bad things may be traumatic, but positive things leave an impression.
Right.
And so we want to definitely make sure we acknowledge the impressions in our lives just like we acknowledge the scars.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
Let's see. Kevin said, we have real dads, but just because he's not a sex symbol, they overlook
I
them.
think he was more so talking about the representation. Okay, all right. My bad, Kev. I got that all wrong. My fault, man. But yeah, I think he was talking about the representation as far as in the media and stuff like that. If they don't, how attractive people are pushed to the forefront or whatnot. He's saying that if they're not the hot dad or whatever, that they may be overlooked as far as examples and stuff like that.
I get it. I guess this is where I'm weird. And let me clarify this. I've never really struggled with my identity as far as looks.
Yeah.
And I never thought I was ugly. I never was called ugly. But we always know that beautiful people make more money or what the world perceives as beautiful.
Right.
I I think the flip side of that is just because you're dads, you don't have to have the dad vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it does send the message that you can be attractive and still be a parent.
Yep.
Just because you become a parent, you don't have to be unattractive anymore.
Right. Yeah.
But I also feel like that's part of the imaging behind it is you can be a parent, you can be a professional, you can even be an aging adult, but still look great.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on the fence a little bit about it, but I do see the negative side about it. So I don't want to say I don't see it.
Right.
But at the same time, I understand. And I see how it can be encouraging.
Yeah.
Just like I see I see both sides of it. That's
Mm-hmm.
really what it is.
Yeah.
So I get it, but I definitely think that there's another side that we can't ignore for the sake of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see what else we got going on. We got Uncle Marcus just signed on.
What's up, Uncle? And his birthday is actually on Tuesday, the 23rd.
Well, yesterday was my dad's birthday, and you know, guys, I talk about it all the time. My biological father wasn't there for me, but the guy called my dad took me in when I was a teen,
Mm-hmm.
and I love him very much. And his birthday was just yesterday.
Okay. Happy
My
birthday to
dad,
him.
Antonio Brown.
Yeah. Happy birthday to him.
Yep. So what's going on, Uncle Marcus? So let's go to the next one. The next one was toxic mothers and the golden uterus syndrome and its effect on the family structure. Explain all of that to me.
Well, as far as the toxic mothers part, I mean, that's just something that's not as talked about, I think, especially by brothers, simply because, I'm going to speak from a perspective of a black man. There's quite a few black men that have a very intricate and delicate relationship with their mothers. I mean, it's the first one we come in contact with, and I remember hearing growing up, like, you don't ever talk bad about your mom. You don't ever let anybody talk bad about your mother. It's just because that's your mother. And so, but that being said, there are some problematic mothers out there, and so it's not talked about a lot simply because. And I saw a saying that I don't, memes are not, a big thing of mine, but I did see a meme that says that a lot of mothers are toxic, but you don't notice because they're the only ones that were there.
And that's what I was thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
But before we go into it, Karen said, I grew up in a neighborhood of fathers, so I had a chance to see males interact, and it was a good experience.
Oh, yeah, for
That's
sure.
That's awesome. I actually Googled it just to make sure I understood what it was, and it said the golden uterus believes that her best interest and the child's best interest are synonymous.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, I know what my child needs, and whatever I think is what the child thinks.
Right.
And so immediately I went to most custodial parents feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's you don't know what.
I mean, I don't know how to respond to it, only because I understand the struggle of raising children,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, it for years it did fall on the mother,
Mm-hmm.
and some of that toxicity came from survival.
Mm-hmm.
So they made, when they were talking about the best interest of the child, it really was the best interest of the family,
Mm-hmm.
because she was essentially the head of household. Now, in instances where there are, if not a custodial, if it's not joint custody, but you do have an active or a present father, I think that that's where it's a little different, and there needs to be a conversation to separate the desires of mom versus the interests of the child.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so hard. It's like you have your own house, and if you were to have a child in that house, you're going to be thinking about the whole family structure. You're not just going to be thinking, I guess you don't have the luxury to just think about the child's interests.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one simply because, I mean, in that part, but I know that, I know personally, I mean, I have a great relationship with my mother, and I've always had one. We're very close, and we've always been able to have those tough conversations, even where we see eye to eye with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do know brothers, though, that unfortunately had very bad relationships. I'll call them, for lack of a better term right now, I'll call them love-hate relationships with their mothers. They love their mother because that's their mother. But they have the most volatile, or some of the most volatile interactions with their mother or have had over the course of their life. And those conversations, the healing conversations, either didn't take place or they won't take place simply because of disagreements between, you know, one or both sides. But I've seen the other side of that, and it's not pretty, you know, and it is damaging. Just like having an absentee father or a problematic father, the symptoms can be just as bad, and even sometimes worse. They can be very layered and very nuanced.
Well, you know what I'm going to say, and it's like I think part of the problem is it may be some people that really don't love their parents.
Yeah.
And they're forced they're forced to say that they love them because they can't address the problems, because society says you ought to love your parents.
Right.
Your parents have your best interests, but a lot of times people don't know the dynamics of the household that they grew up in. And so you do have some people who really don't love their parents, so it's not really a struggle. It's more of being forced to be around someone that you really don't care about, you really don't love, but society is telling you that you do and you should.
Wow, yeah, that's powerful, man. You know, simply because how many people out there feel that way but just don't want to admit it? Even now, even if they're grown, you know, whatever, you know?
Right.
So...
And I think that that's one of the things that we do have to talk about. We do have to look at. And I think that the pressures of normality influences a lot of negative behaviors as well, because we're like, well, this is what normal looks like, A, B, C, or D.
Right.
And if you're not doing A, B, C, or D, you are ostracized or imprisoned for not going or not choosing to assimilate to conformity.
Yeah.
Karen Jonas said, yes, there are some very toxic mothers, but we as a society give them a pass, and I think that is very wrong.
I definitely agree. And like I said, when those conversations don't take place about, you know, things that happen and things that are still affecting, you know, the child, especially the child that's now an adult, it just exacerbates the problem. And so, yeah, and I definitely think you're right, bro, that there's some kids out there, or no, adults out there who don't love their parents and haven't for quite some time, or maybe never did. And that conversation, that realization is hard to, let alone come to grips with, but bring up in a conversation.
Right.
You know, how do you, I couldn't imagine how that feels to not only feel that way, but to have that conversation with a parent or both parents or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess because you have to come to I think the biggest struggle is being true to self. I think a lot of us don't know how to be true to ourselves, so therefore the biggest resentment is with ourselves before taking it out on another individual or speaking to another individual. Being that once we come to a resolve with self, I think any conversation after that will be pretty easy.
Yeah.
But the biggest issue is the war within and having to make a decision on what you can or cannot do.
Yeah.
Based off of societal norms.
Yeah.
I'm about to copy the information about the golden uterus in there so you guys can read up on it if you wanted to. Okay? So let's see what... Okay. Let's go to the next one. You ready?
Oh, sure. I'm ready.
It said gender and sexual fluidity in the Black community.
So, gender and sexual fluidity in the Black community. So... those are admittedly two topics in which, you know, I don't have a lot of... First of all, I don't have a lot of say-so on, and first of all, I don't have a lot of knowledge on. Those things are very, you know, hot topics in just society, period, especially right now as we're having a lot of conversations about gender fluidity and sexual fluidity. Sexual fluidity I'm more familiar with simply because that's in the vein of breaking some of the confines around sexuality and adults that society has kind of shackled onto us. So I would say in the community, I'll speak on sexual fluidity since that's what I'm more, you know, adept at talking about. So I'll say with that, the black community still has a problem with you know, being less rigid about sexuality. That's still an issue in the black community. You know, so I think that it's getting better, but it's still, there are still some very stereotypical and some very archaic ideas that black community is holding on to when it comes to, you know, sexual fluidity. I mean, sexuality itself is not rigid, in my opinion. And so, but in our community, too many of us are still trying to keep it rigid or make it rigid just because that's what we've grown up with or that's what we've been taught.
I actually think that it's a combination of things that we don't want to talk about. You have this progressive mind demographic who, like, you know, don't use slavery as an excuse. Don't use this as an excuse. Don't use this as an excuse. How can you understand oppression but not understand this? But I think that a lot of people of color who struggle with the idea of sexual fluidity look at anything that is not in agreement with the social norm.
Most definitely.
It's an extra target on our back. So they look at it as, yes, you could be sexual fluid, but can you keep it to yourself?
Yeah.
Because we already have enough struggle.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are not saying don't be you as much as they're saying don't cause a distraction to another thing that disqualifies us. And I think that some people look at sexual orientation, gender, if it doesn't fall in the two categories, that it's another identifier or another distraction or a cause to further oppress the collective minority. Yeah. And I'm not saying that that is correct, but I'm saying that if we're going to have a healthy dialogue about it, we can't determine the pressures of one's mindset and tell one not to think like that no more. That's no different than telling one, well, you shouldn't tell people your sexual identity. Right. So we can't dictate what is acceptable, what is not, in a healthy conversation about things that both parties are not even willing to understand. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And I definitely think that what you said about it being the target on our back is a line of reasoning that is used to go back to one of our problematic tendencies as a community and sweep it under the rug or to put it away until we feel like dealing with it or never deal with it.
Yeah. And I guess collective we, social we, social economic we are all different. And we can't speak for the majority in certain things that impact the collective we. Right, yeah. Let me see. Karen went back. She was talking about the mother situation, and she said, I think that it's hard because very few can wrap their mind around the idea of a bad mother. I don't think that people can I don't think it's hard for people to wrap their mind around the idea of a bad mother as much as it's the question of why would you be a bad mother? Yeah. So I think that that's where the struggle comes. And then Karen saying we're tackling some some tough topics tonight. Man, tell me.
These last couple weeks have been some real doozies, for sure.
Karen says so true. The society norms, that society norm hinders much progress. Okay. The next one is the evolution and or the de-evolution of gender roles.
Ah, good old gender roles, bro.
Doesn't that tie right into the gender fluid?
No. Gender roles, gender roles, man, are the, when I think of gender roles, I think of the around the house, the woman does the cooking.
Oh, right, okay. You know? I follow now. Okay, go ahead. Tell the people what you think.
So, when I think of, hey, Joy.
Yeah, we did.
So, when I think of gender roles, man, I think of, first of all, I think of times of old, and I think, I'm not going to say that gender roles don't have a place, because first of all, when it comes to relationships, I definitely am of the mindset that outside the extreme cases, in your relationship, in your household, you do what works for y'all. All the parties that involve, whatever works for y'all and all the parties involved, they have an agreement and they have a very, they come to common ground, they're on the same page, whatever that looks like, that's not extreme and harmful and all that jazz, go for it. That being said, gender roles are still around, and there's still people that have a mindset, whether it be, there's the rigid mindset that men do this in the household and women do that. And then there's some people that have the loose, men sometimes are more geared to or better equipped to do this, and women are more geared to and better equipped to do that. So I don't think that gender roles are evolving, more so than people are taking the rigidness off of gender roles in some cases, and then there are some cases where people just don't adhere to them at all, which isn't necessarily a problem. I think it's just, I don't think they're evolving. They're just there, and they're being talked about more at this point, like everything else.
And I think, Dion said she thinks gender roles come up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think they do too. I actually, you know how we started creating things that we not going to talk about anymore?
Yeah.
I think gender roles is one of those things that I think we all kind of agree that it should be left up to the individual relationship, the parties that are in that relationship. And I think that what has happened is people think whether you're skilled in an area, have knowledge in the area, have experience in the area, or connected to individuals, that gives you jurisdiction to say what those things should be in one's relationship, when really you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have made it comfortable for people to mind other people's business.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is you just need to stay in your lane and worry about the relationship or the relationships that you are entertaining, and allow those individuals to develop their norm and develop the things that are healthy for their relationship, even if you feel like it's unhealthy. A lot of times it goes back to the same thing I said about mental health. Yes, mental health is important, but every crisis in every situation may not be mental health worthy or mental health needed.
Right.
Because sometimes people don't need a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a psychotherapist, a therapist, a mental health therapist, a counselor. Sometimes people just need a good friend, somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Somebody who's not licensed trying to diagnose them as if they were. And I think the same thing happens with relationships. If you're not excelling in your own relationship, you definitely don't have a right to impose on someone else's, but you don't have jurisdiction to tell what the role should be in that relationship.
Yeah.
So it's a nice way of saying shut up and mind your business.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. And so, I mean, gender roles mean different things to different people. So I definitely think I don't necessarily adhere to gender roles. I know what they are, and in my house right now, it's just me. So I'm the sum of all the gender roles.
You better lay that law down. In my house, I run it. Okay,
but
sir.
When I growing up, my parents, didn't necessarily adhere to the strict gender roles. So I wasn't. While I knew what that was, I wasn't exposed to that strict adherence to those guidelines or proposed guidelines. So. They're just there, man. I think that we should just leave it there instead of just trying to impose that on everybody, like you said. Just leave it there. And if people want to go into that as like they want to, then cool, let them do that.
In the words of Will Smith, just mind your business.
Yeah.
That's all. Just mind your business.
That's correct. Yeah.
Dion said a lot of people can't handle the communication though, to even get to what should be defined. And I think a lot of people can't handle it because a lot of times when people are having a dialogue, they're trying to impress people outside of their relationship.
Yeah.
So even when it's just like my wife and I, they too busy worried about, like I'd be too busy trying to say, well, what would Cordell say if he see this? You know what I mean? It's like, it ain't Cordell's business.
Yeah.
It ain't nobody's business but me and my wife. And what we agree with, it comes. Here go Joey crazy, but talking about, I'm a fan of gender roles to an extent because I don't like to take out the trash or put gas in your car.
And I've heard,
I done told you business.
Oh, man.
Joshua said, my brothers, what's going on, Joshua?
What's going on, Josh?
And then, let me see. Joe said, sometimes people just need a...
Oh, no, not a cigarette. Oh, no. Not a cancer stick. Oh.
What, they vaping? What's the difference?
I don't vape.
I'm just saying.
Or smoke cigarettes.
I actually like that that truth commercial where they talk about vapor is more safer than
Yeah.
But what she's saying is people just need to relax.
Yeah, I definitely get what she's saying. I just want to poke fun.
Right. Okay, so those were all of the ones from last week.
That took up a lot of the time, man.
Man, let me tell you. So let's jump on into this week. It said, one of the first ones said, dealing with hurt feelings. How should one express them? How should you express them to someone, and how should someone receive or respond if someone says they hurt their feelings?
Go ahead, bro.
Woo!
You go ahead, take it on. You wordsmith, you.
Well, I think that in honesty, we focus too much on delivery.
Right.
And I think that the very first thing is if you sincerely are invested in an individual, if you sincerely care about an individual, you care about their thoughts, you care about their interests, and if they tell you that they're hurting, regardless of how it's delivered, one should take heed.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is, here's the thing about when somebody says they hurt that people don't understand. If I hurt you, intention means nothing.
That's correct.
Results and outcome is what's more important. And so we need to stop defending intention. I say that over and over again, and look at the outcome, and then we can move. Because the very first thing should be, if you didn't intend on hurting them, is saying, I apologize. I didn't mean to hurt you.
Right. Definitely.
You know what I mean? And how can we fix it? Not, I would never hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
I care about you. I love you. I wouldn't do that. So I think that we have to get to a place where we look at outcome, results, and not always worry about how a package is delivered.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is, people get a lot of banged up Amazon boxes at their door, and they still use the product that's inside.
Oh my brother, hit me with that. That's what I'm talking about right there, man. Oh man, I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna give you credit, but I'm gonna use that though. Oh man, that right there, my brother that's powerful. And
Beyonce said vulnerability.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say that, and I think that that's for too many people, that's a new concept. As the saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So
you gotta preach,
man. That's one of my favorite sayings in life, man. My dad used to always tell me that.
Preach.
So it really, like the brother said, your intention is so low on the totem pole when it's weighed against or measured against the results of your actions or your words and whatnot. And I don't want to say that nobody cares, but in my opinion, your intention, especially if the outcome is not like you wanted and it's a problem, nobody cares about what you intended to do. What happened? What did you do? That's what's more important. And so, yeah, I mean, and if someone says that you hurt them or that they're hurting, especially if it's something that you did or you said, you can't tell them how they feel or should feel. They're hurting, and that's really the bottom line of it. You can y'all discuss, all the parties that are involved or implicated discuss and come to a solution or whatnot, but you can't tell someone that you didn't hurt them or you're not hurt. They just told you. You hurt my feelings, or you hurt me, or I'm hurting. That's the starting point.
Lolita said that was good, but I don't know what she was saying that was good too. It's probably to you.
No, man.
And to tell you, she's finally here. All praises allow me to catch up.
Ain't to tell you.
I enjoyed spending time with you today, and your beautiful daughter and your handsome son. They just they're just a beautiful family, and they just come with so much light and so much energy into the house of already a lot of energy.
Yeah.
I thought at one point they was gonna tear the whole house up. I thought I heard a boom and something else, but she just got an amazing family, and she's an amazing creation. So I'm very excited for her.
That's what's up, man.
Are there financial levels to dating? That's all you, bro.
Well, I'll say it like this. I think that way too many people that is their reality. Like there's, the only financial level or financial aspect of dating that I will say is that dating, especially for even now, especially for men, is expensive because of the idea that as a man, a male, whatnot, whatever you want to say, you are expected in quite a few cases to pay for the first date and or the first couple. So especially if you're out there dating around, it can get a little pricey. But as far as the financial levels of dating, I don't think there are financial levels. It really comes down to what you're working with personally, financially, and how creative you are. You can go on a date that costs next to nothing, or nothing, depending on where you go. You can go to a free museum, you can go to a park, and the only thing you're paying for is really gas, if you're really going to look at it like that. So, to answer the question, to me, there are not financial levels to dating. If you want to take someone to a free museum, or if you want to take someone to Ruth Chris, that is your idea of the date, and you know what you're working with financially. So, to me, there are no financial levels of dating. It's what are you working with financially, and what does dating look like for you? Does dating always have to be dinner, a movie, or something that costs money? Or is dating more so about the experience and interaction to you? It all depends on that person's mindset. So that's my take on it. That's my spiel.
Well, Natanya said that you were right about the intentions mean nothing if you out here hurting people.
Yeah, that's really correct.
We'll agree. I know people, y'all might not agree, but I don't care. But I think there should be levels to dating.
Yeah.
The reason why I think that there should be levels to dating is...
Wait, financial levels?
Yes, I think there should be financial levels to dating. But here's the thing, too, though. I think that...
Oh, man, I've never seen the Brother Jay stumped right now.
I think that some people do use dating as a supplement. Or if I go out on a date, I don't have to pay these bills, or I don't have to buy this much food because I can go on a date, have leftovers, I can eat another day. But I also think that some people date up to live a life that they don't normally live.
Ooh, okay.
And so I think that it sounds funny though, but I think that sometimes people need to date where they are.
That is...
Because it's like, if all you can afford independently is McDonald's...
Why are you wanting Ruth Chris?
Right. If you normally don't have Ruth Chris, why is the expectation for me to get Ruth Chris?
Right.
I might do an upgrade, like get you Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Or Zaxby's.
Yeah.
But I think that... I just think that I do think that there should be levels, but I don't think that there should be an expectation on those levels.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that if you sitting there talking and you talk about like, hey, what are the things that you're interested in? I think that those conversations should happen in the very beginning. Like, I want a guy to wine and dine me, and he has every right to say, I understand you want a guy to wine and dine you, but I don't know you like that. I don't even know if I want to wine and dine you.
Yeah.
This dating is an interview process.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm seeing what's going to happen after this. And I think that sometimes there's too much pressure on that, but I actually think that there should be financial levels based on the mutual expectation.
Yeah, that you make a good point. And that's one of the things that would get sometimes, especially if you're a man saying that, I think it's one thing that gets you kind of looked at kind of sideways sometimes is, I think that's very important. Like, hey, Felicia.
Hey, Theo in Vegas, spreading love and cakes in Vegas.
I think that, that's a really important thing that, and to me in life, that's something that I live by is, especially when it comes to dating, why do you expect or want someone to give you something that you can't give yourself? And that's big to me, and that speaks a lot to the mindset of a person and their intentions when it comes to dating. Like you said, if all you eat is McDonald's and you haven't stepped foot in even a Chili's in forever or ever, why is the expectation, or why do you want me to feel the idea of taking you to Ruth Chris? Not saying that I won't or that I can't, but why is that something that is on your mind?
Right, because I probably will take you to Chili's because they got the 2 for $20, and you get an appetizer and you get 2 entrees. Don't be trying to order outside of that. You get the entrees that they provide in that 2 for $20 deal.
Yeah, and so
call it a day.
Right, and I also think that certain people really have a certain standard when it comes to dating. That there's certain people who, when they go out on dinner dates, when they go out on dates, their standard is at a certain point. So there might be men out there who, when they go on a dinner date, it's Ruth Chris every time. That is the standard they have for themselves. They may go out to Ruth Chris once or twice a week. So that is their standard. So in that case, that's their standard. But again, it's like you said, it's about a mutual expectation, a mutual being on the same page, being in sync. So yeah, I definitely, when you put it that way, I can definitely agree that there may be some financial levels to dating. I think that outright, just in general, that there really aren't, but there definitely could be.
Nathaniel said, "You're right. You can't buy my company."
Yeah, I mean, and they're that too. There's some guys out there who depend on spending to hold the interest of a woman, and they have no communication skills, or they're just kind of boring as a person. And so there's that too. Now there's a financial aspect to that as well. And then also what you said about people using dating to maintain a lifestyle, or to, I guess,
as a come up,
or use dating as a come up, is really big. The whole thing about either not paying the bill or not buying food, that's something that right there that's not a lot talked about a lot.
Well, I know people. I'm sorry. I know some friends who be like, you know what? Let me go on a date because I'm hungry.
Yeah. There's always let me find a dude in my phone I can call so I get a free meal tonight. There's that, But as far as that being something consistent, or like the lifestyle, like that's something to think about that we don't talk about often.
Well, and here's the thing, like, I don't want anybody to, even before they start, it ain't just women. I know men who do it too, who are like, dog, I'm hungry. Mm-hmm. Let me call and see who cooking.
Right. Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah. But anyway, Nathaniel said, free or expensive, people are who they are. Let enough time go by. Jada Way, and she started laughing.
Yeah.
And then she said, they having a whole conversation. Impress me by knowing where the inexpensive food and drink specials are.
I mean, yeah, that right, yeah.
And then she said, Nathaniel said, that's a good point. Both men and women need to be able to maintain their gathering of info or dating. Mm-hmm. Okay? Oh, we got a lot of them that came up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
She said, Cordell said, hold on.
Are they talking to each other?
They get on my nerves. To my, okay, get the deals. And then B said, or expecting the other person to cook often. We just talked about that and we agree. Yeah. And Nathaniel said, Cordell, say that. We don't need to try to supplement your lifestyle through someone else. Correct.
Yeah.
And then Joe said, if there's something specific that you want, always have enough to cover your own meals, drinks, etc., just in case. And then Nathaniel said, my standard seems exquisite, but it's regular to me. They not ready for my homemade steak and potatoes. I don't know which homemade steak and potatoes we talk about, so leave that alone. Dion said, I think people just have the wrong idea of dating or understand anyways. So, and then Nathaniel said, I don't play with my time, food, or company. Word.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
It said they don't understand. Dion said they don't even understand. It's like to get to know you process. Correct.
Yeah.
You're very passionate about that situation.
What?
That financial levels thing.
Well, no, it should, because dating to me is simply going out on dates, and like you said, and like Dion says, well, a getting to know you process or interview process. So, and when you bring finances into it, and people have an expectation of what they should be, what they should be doing on a date, as far as what they should be treated to, or this and that. It's I think it's just not being on the same page, and it can get a little really problematic, because you bring societal norms into it. You bring gender roles into it. Like a man is always supposed to treat a lady too. He's always supposed to pay for every day. I mean, you get all those things wrapped into the simple act or the art of dating, and it can get very layered. It can get a little dicey sometimes, especially when you don't see eye to eye with the person or with all the parties that you're dealing with. So, yeah. Which
is funny, because we kind of answer what Dion's discussion question was. Yeah. Can brothers share their thoughts on dating or the process of dating? I think we kind of covered that.
Yeah.
So this is going to be our last question, bro. It says, is there really a hierarchy for baby mamas? Do men really think their child's mother should come before a girlfriend, fiance, or wife?
I don't really. My information is limited because I have no kids and I'm a single man right now. What I will say though is that, you know, the relationship from what I've seen and talked to with brothers I know that are co-parenting and that have, you know, children by a woman and that they're not together, the relationship can be tumultuous for so many reasons. And as far as putting their relationship with their child's mother or children's mother above that of anyone else, or like anyone else that's in their life or anyone else, period, I think I've seen it happen for a variety of reasons. I've seen it happen because there's still a lot of emotional ties there that haven't been properly dealt with or processed or cut, whatever you want to say. I've seen it happen because of the financial aspect. I don't want her to put me on child support, so I gotta keep her happy, in a sense. And then I've also seen it happen just because, you know, their relationship is so volatile that that's all that, you know, both parties are used to. So I've seen it happen for a variety of reasons, and I really can't say that there's a hierarchy other than, you know, the stuff that I've heard. My baby mother is crazy, she's stupid, she's vindictive, this and that, or my baby mother and I are great and we co-parent nicely and everything's wonderful, and everything in between those two extremes.
Yeah.
So I can't adequately answer that question, but that's all I got.
Well, I'm going to say this. I don't have a baby mama. My wife is my baby mama. But I will say this. I think the whole idea of having a hierarchy is stupid.
Right.
And I think that anybody who goes into any type of healthy relationship thinking that, okay, I'm going to be honest, thinking that you are above a person is narcissistic and entitled and ignorant.
Right.
Let's flip this situation. Every time a guy tells me that their baby mama is crazy, in my mind I automatically say, you crazy. As soon as you say my baby mama crazy, oh, you crazy. How many kids y'all had together? 2?
Yeah.
You a whole lot of crazy. Because crazy attract crazy. The next thing is, when we think about, even now that I have addressed somebody being over somebody else, the next thing is, the best interest of the child is the best interest of the child. The child needs to see a healthy relationship with their father and their mother. Not their father and their mother competing with the bonus mom or the stepmom or whatever. People get things, some people want to just be in control. And I think that when children are involved, you need to check your attitude and you need to check your priorities and you need to really check yourself, because if you acting out of the side pocket just to prove a point, you're hurting a child, so you don't care about the child. And if you don't care about the child, you don't care about the person you're involved with. And I think the most ignorant thing that you can do is try to pin a mother, a child's mother, against a quote-unquote girlfriend, wife, or fiance. And first of all, I'm gonna be honest. If you a girlfriend or a fiance, you ain't the wife.
Yeah.
And if you have a child with them now, you're just another baby mother. So if you are condoning a negative behavior for the former baby mother and you're a baby mother now, you're also condoning the disrespect for self. We need to cut that junk out. If you are in a relationship and you're not being healthy in that relationship, you need to figure out, how can I have a healthy coexistence with this parent? Because the parent ain't going nowhere. It's the kid's parent.
Yeah.
And the most stupid thing that you can do is talk about, no, y'all don't need to talk. And I told one of my friends, they may be watching, but I ain't telling your name, but I told one of my friends, like, you not talking to your baby mother, talking to her via email is the stupidest thing I know of. How are you instilling positive or effective communication and you can't even have a conversation with the mother?
Right. Yeah.
That's stupid to me.
Yeah.
And I think that we do a lot of stuff that is unhealthy, but we want to justify it as being right. No, wrong is wrong.
Yep.
And we want to talk about their gender roles and being fluent with gender roles, but at the same time, you want to establish your dominance because you are in a role?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's junk stupid. Y'all better learn to get along, because this is why we have citizens that can't get along. This is why we have siblings thinking, having problems. Civil rivalry is coming from these baby mamas, stepmamas, stepdaddies. Y'all crazy. And then other stupid thing I'm going to tell you, the parent married talking about that man or that woman better not discipline my child.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
If you wanted to take care of the child, take care of the child. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of times we're doing too much ignorant stuff and we focusing on the wrong thing. Once a child come into play, the attention ain't on you, partner. The attention ain't on you, sister. It's about the best interest of that child. Didn't we just talk about the golden uterus?
Yep.
So I guess there's a golden scrotum sac. Man, please. Y'all need to cut that junk out and look out in the best interest of the child. So whatever's in the best interest of that child is what's most important. Talking about hiring somebody else. I don't care.
Yeah.
So let me see what y'all done said. Natanya said we need to be fair emotionally and financially, Cordell. Be fair to yourself and others.
Correct.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And then she said Puff Daddy loves his baby mother regardless of who he was with. Now that's true.
Yeah.
Will Smith loved his baby mama too. And then Tank said loved. And Dion said toxic. I don't know what we're talking about here. Oh, and Dion said get parental agreements ASAP. I agree with that. I'm an ex-wife's son's mother. I'm fair to my ex-husband. And man, I may or may not be dating.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. B said former step-parent and a current stepchild. Both parents remarried. The spouse, not fiance, girlfriend, comes first.
Okay, got you.
I will say it's the come first part that bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
If you are civil in your relationship, there shouldn't be no... Well, you know how I feel about competition.
Yeah.
I leave that alone because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole today. But I get what you're saying, B, so I'm going to leave it alone.
Yeah.
Get that in order. Co-parenting before adding more people to the equation. Seriously. Agreed.
I agree with that. Seriously, yeah.
And Dion talking about narcissism. That's a good topic.
Hey, yeah. It's out here.
Natane say, cut the foolishness out. Seriously. Thank you. And Gim saying, you call them...
Baby mama.
Why call them baby mama? My daughter's mom and I are so cool that I respect her and her man like she respect if I'm dating. I do more for her because she birthed my little angel. Well, brother, because we already know... Well, I know him. He's a former student of mine. And just a great person. Quentin, you're a great person all the way around. And I think that more people need to see that, and that's how we change the narrative too.
Yes.
So thank you for doing that, and just thank you. It's sad that we got to say thank you for being a man.
Yeah.
And I ain't going to say a real man, just a man. Mm-hmm. Thank you for being that. Thank you for doing right by your child and your child's mother. Natane say, I'm going through it right now with my ex-husband, shaking my head. He's not ready to grow up seriously. My son will always be the forefront of my decisions. Mm-hmm. And then Karen Jordan said, Jay, you should do a class on this. People just want to be right, not come together and raise children.
That's a topic in itself. People just wanting to be right when it comes to situations and not really want an effective solution that at some level satisfies all parties involved. I think that's a big problem with society in general.
Yeah, and Nathan say, you better preach, Dwayne. Stop focusing on sales. Focus on the child's well-being. Yeah, because I ain't trying to be funny. People ain't even trying to want to be right. They just want to win.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's the same thing. To me, I feel like that's the same thing to me. But yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Right. So, that was a lot of stuff that we discussed.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll finish the rest of them next week.
Yeah.
So, it's that time. Woo. I got to change my head, too. Because it just ticked me off because I hate to see parents bickering and going back and forth.
Yeah.
Because it's so unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want the child to respect you. But you're sending a message that it's okay to disrespect at the same time. Oh, but I'm not instilling that value. But it doesn't matter what you're trying to instill. It's what you're presenting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So look. Shift.
Yeah. So yeah, it's that time.
Yeah, positive brother shout out.
Oh man, positive brother shout out, man. I feel like I'm doing the same this time, or the same each time.
We'll do it different then.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do it different. So of course, I'm gonna call the usual suspects. Brother J.U. My uncles. And I need to shout out all the brothers that showed up, including yourself, to Tadal's. Terrence Clifton had an event this past weekend called Friends United for his foundation. That's called Friends United to Cure Cancer. He had an event. It was lovely. He had a lot of entertainment, some good food, and it was a great event that a lot of people showed up to support. So I want to shout out the brother Terrence Clifton, aka Tadal, and Corey, Robert Walker, Charles Walker, all those brothers, and as well as every other brother who I don't know personally who showed up. And also, I would also like to shout out, as usual, any future brothers that I'm going to run into who remain nameless because I don't know their names, but any brothers that I'm going to run into who are going to be drawn to our movement because they're looking for a place to be supported or a place to support others. Shout out those brothers too.
I want to do a challenge, guys. There's a positive brother that and I appreciate the tags. We get a lot of tags from a lot of people who are watching the show, and we get a lot of people that are supporting us in what we're doing. But I want us to change it up a bit. Introduce us to brothers that are positive, that are doing things that we don't know yet. There are a lot of positive brothers that got a lot of great things going on, and they need to be validated by other positive brothers, because sometimes you do feel like you're alone. So I want to challenge you guys. If you know some brothers that are doing great things, scratch that. If you know some brothers not only who are doing great things, but some brothers who need great things in their lives, tag them, support them, show them what they're doing. And a lot of people, you'll be surprised what a share, a tag will just do as a random act of kindness in somebody's life. Yeah. So tag a brother that needs a brother. You know what I mean? Tag a brother that's going on. And then I want to definitely shout out Quentin. Sorry I didn't call you yesterday, but this week has been kind of hectic. I'm getting back to normal, but I am going to call you, my brother. I've always been proud of you, even as a student, and I'm even more proud to see that you've connected with another friend who are doing positive things down there in the community. So, brother, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for being an example. Thank you for being one of the pillars in the community that we need to see more of. I want to highlight, I just made a new connect for me. A lot of you guys know him, Troy Johnson. I definitely want to shout him out. He actually had an event tonight. I couldn't come because it was Brother Empowerment. And then we have a lot of people. Guys, we thank you for inviting us to a lot of events. But Thursdays are hard for us because Thursdays is our Brother Empowerment Day. But we want to thank you guys. And if you know somebody who needs us, allow them to go to loveisaparable.com. Follow us on any social media platform. I'm proud to say that Instagram is now getting traction where we're getting a lot of people who are now responding to the videos that we put on Instagram. So the word is getting out there, and the only way that that's happening is by you guys sharing, you guys letting them know that there is something positive that is happening. We are enrolling for our Love is a Parable training course. So if you want to take advantage of that class, go to the website, sign up for it now to get involved, to get connected, because I think once you understand the Love is a Parable paradigm, it will allow you the opportunity to really become a champion of love advocacy, love education, and love therapy in your community. But other than that, you guys have a wonderful night. We love you guys, and take care.
All right, see y'all next week.